friends, myself Dr. S.B. Kishore, welcome you all in our tutorial Programming Logic and Technique, where we are learning about the language evaluation, third part. Under that, we are covering today a study of programming languages. So in the last session, we have discussed about the translation, then we have seen a compilation process, then we have finally discussed about the linker and loader. So in the today's session, we are going to cover a programming language concept, then the categories of programming languages, then the comparative among some high-level languages, why we have so many computer languages, features of the most of the computer programming languages, then the characteristics of good programming languages, and finally we will discuss application software and system software. So in the today's sessions we are going to cover this point, while the remaining point we will discuss in our next session. So let's start with a concept called as program. So what is program? Before that, it is well known fact that computers perform many tasks successfully, but at the same time, one should remember that it cannot perform all this by itself. Okay, the computer has become a part and parcel of our life, and we are performing many tasks using a computer. But remember, computer is not able to perform all those tasks itself. It means it requires a certain instructions. So let's see. It only performs those tasks that has been commanded to it by means of certain instruction. The instruction which is going to be understood only by a computer. Only those instructions it is able to carry out. So set of instruction to perform a particular job is called as what? A program. It means a single program is not able to handle all your requirements. Okay, so depending upon your requirement, it might be possible that you may require a n number of programs. Therefore, for each job that you want computer to perform, you require what? A separate program. Now, what is programming logic and technique? So, in order to solve a given problem, first one need to collect what? All the required information in order to solve that particular problem. So, without having this, it is not possible to solve a problem. So, first of all, you need to collect all the basic required information that is required in order to solve that particular problem. So, after collecting the information, it might be possible that a problem can be solved by a different mechanism. That is, each problem can be solved in a numerous ways by following a certain logic. For example, if you want to print a hello message 5 times, one of the solution is what? To write hello 5 times. Okay. The second approach is what? Use a looping statement in order to perform the same job. Now, question arises, which one is better? It means in order to select the best solution, one need to understand the technique that have been used in each solution. The kind of technique that you have followed for solving a particular problem. No doubt, it's a very simple problem to print a hello message 5 times. But you can follow the same kind of approach in other problems too. It means you need to understand the kind of mechanism or the kind of technique that has been used in order to solve given problem. Now assume that instead of 5, if you want to print a 50 times, is it a good solution? Of course not. Okay, it means you need to understand the pros and cons of each method that you are going to provide. Okay, and then only you are going to select what? A best solution with respect to time's complexity and a space complexity. It means within a minimum time it should be able to solve your problem with a less space that it is going to consume. Now, what is computer programming language? So first of all, we will try to understand what is the meaning of language. So what is the basic use of language? Language is simply a mode of what? Communication. A communication through which you are exchanging certain information. You are transferring certain information. And whenever you are making communication, usually we talk about what? Oral communication. But when you do computer, we talk about what? A written communication. A written communication means through which we are writing a certain program and computer is able to understand those program. Okay. So, every language has what? A certain set of symbols. Every language consists of what? A character set and grammar to construct what? A sentence. Now, when we are talking about English, we have what? How many characters we have? We have only 26. When you are talking about Hindi, it's a 44. When you are talking about Sanskrit, it's a 46. When you are talking about Marathi language, it contains almost 52 characters to construct a sentence and grammar. Now, but when you come to written communication, you may use some additional character set also. For example, you may use a digit between 0 to 9. You may use a comma, full stop, quotation. These are some of the other character set that you may use while in a written communication. So, a program written in a specific language is called as what? A programming languages. Now, every computer programming language follows the rules of the chosen language while carrying a task. and has its own set of characters and need to follow what? A syntax to use them. It means every computer programming language have their own set of characters. You need to understand what kind of character set it has been provided and the syntaxes that you need to follow while writing an instruction. Okay. Now, example, Mr. Anand studying in SP college. How you are going to say in Marathi? आनंद एसपी महाविद्यालय में शिकत आहे. How you are going to say in Hindi? आनंद एसपी महाविद्यालय में पढ़ रहा है. So what is the basic meaning of all this? The basic meaning will remain the same. Only what has been changed? The symbols that we are following. Now, if you want to find out the additions of two numbers, take any computer programming language. What will be the step? Accept the two numbers, perform their addition and display the result. Whether it may be C or it may be C++ or any computer language you may use, the basic steps will remain what? Same. Okay. So that's why you need to understand how to solve that particular problem by means of what? Using a algorithm. Okay. So always write a solution of a problem by using what? A development tool like algorithm or using a flowchart to solve a given problem instead of directly typing it using a programming languages. Always try to understand the problem that you are going to solve and write the steps in order to solve that particular problem using your own notation. That is what we are calling basically an algorithm. And then only try to convert those algorithms into corresponding language statements. Don't ever try to directly key a program directly using a programming languages. Basically, programming languages are used in computer programming to implement what? To implement an algorithm so that computer can understand the corresponding instructions. Computer programming is the process of writing, testing, debugging, troubleshooting and maintaining the source code of computer program. Unlike algorithm where we used to write simply an algorithm, but when you used to write an program, you need to do a lot of things. What are they? Not writing the program, but you also need to check whether you have written all the syntaxes properly or not. Okay, it means what we are doing? We are debugging that particular program, we are compiling that program, testing whether the result that you got is a proper or not. It means you are taking manually and your computational result, whether they are same or not. Then debugging if there is any error in the program to identify or to locate that particular error. Okay, and maintaining the source code. Why we need to maintain? Because in future it might be possible that you may require the same program for further use. So in that case you need to maintain that program. So unlike algorithm, when you used to write a programming, you need to maintain so many other things. Okay, you need to take the care of many other things. Thus we can say that programming language are what? The primary tools for creating a software. Using programming languages we are creating a software. Okay, like Windows operating system, then Microsoft Office, Google Doc, then your Gmail, all of them are what? They are nothing but what? A software. And all these softwares have been created by means of what? A certain programming languages. So now why you need to study a programming language? Okay, so let's see. It helps in learning the concepts supported by the language. So you will be able to come to know about the various concepts that have been provided by that particular languages. Okay, helps in choosing the appropriate language for a given task. Once you know more than one language, it is possible for you to understand very easily which language is better in order to solve that particular given problem. Then helps in discover the pros and cons of language. Having the knowledge of many languages, you will be able to know the advantages and disadvantages of each language. So that is going to help you much more when you are going to solve a particular problem. Increase the ability to design a new language. If you want to create your own new language, so of course the study of programming languages, having the knowledge of all the pros and cons of each language will help you to design your new language properly. Help in making a computing more efficient. Having the knowledge of many languages will help you to select a proper language in order to solve that particular problem with a greater efficiency. Helps in understanding the significance of implementation. So you will be able to convert your algorithm properly using by selecting what? Proper languages. So these are some of the reasons. For that purpose you need to study what? A different programming language. Now what are the categories of the programming language? So basically it is categorized into function or procedure programming language, then object oriented language, event based language and scripting language. So in the today's sessions we are going to cover the first two. Now when you are talking about the function oriented language and object oriented language, please remember object oriented language also support the concept of function oriented language. Event based language support the concept of function oriented as well as what? The object oriented language and so on. Okay, so let's start with a function or procedure oriented programming language. In real life, instead of doing all the tasks by ourselves, what we used to do, we used to divide the work in order to get our work done. Okay, it means we are delegating or dividing our work. Similar to that, okay, in computer programming language, what we are doing, we may divide a problem into a sub-problem to carry out the individual tasks and later group them into a single unit. This is known as what? A function-oriented programming or modular programming or procedure-oriented programming. It means what? We have a certain problem. So what we are doing? We are dividing that problem into a sub-problem. And this may be further divided into some more modules. Okay, so depending upon the size of the program. Now, take one simple example. You know very well how to check whether a given number is prime or not. Okay, so it might be possible that you may solve that particular problem in a single module only. But now assume your problem is something like that. To check whether a given number is prime or not between 3 to 100. Now to check the number between 3 to 100 is prime or not. So in that case, what you can do? You can write a logic of the prime in a particular module, and using this main module you will pass the number to this particular module in order to check whether that the number that has been passed is prime or not. Okay, so that is the basic features of what? Writing a function. Now, what are the features of this modular programming? It facilitates a top-down approach. It means at the beginning we are thinking about the overall logic, and then in the latter part, what we are doing, we are actually carrying out those tasks. So it facilitates what? A top-down programming. In this programming style, the high-level logic of the overall program is solved first, while the details of each low-level functions are addressed later. And because due to this function, the length of the source program can be reduced by using what? A function at appropriate place. So if you are going to use a function, of course it is going to use, or it is going to reduce the length of your overall program. It is easy to locate and isolate the faults in a function for further investigation. We know that if you are going to write the entire program in a single module, and when you compile, it might be possible that you may get the n number of errors at different locations. Okay, but if you are writing in the modular format, you may get the error, but it will also show you where that particular error occurs. So if it is in the module 1 or in the function 1, then it is very easy to find out those errors, because we need to concentrate only on this function only. So that is the basic advantage of writing a program using a function oriented programming language. Now, function written by a user may be clubbed into the existing predefined function, or one can create a user defined header file and store all similar types of user defined function in it. For example, assume the name of this program is what? sbk.h. It means it's simply a name, nothing else. Now in this particular header file, what we have done? We have written one function called as a disk. And what this particular function is doing? It is simply printing a message called hello. Okay, nothing else. Now you are not able to execute this program because we don't have any main part. Remember, in C language it is necessary that you should have what? A main in order to execute your program. So what we have done? We have simply created the function, nothing else. Now, how to use this function? So let's see. This function written by user may be used in another program. Now, assume your name new program is what? It's a main.c, and here what we are doing? We are calling this function this. And in order to use this function, what we have done? We have included our header file. That is what? sbk.h. Okay. It means what we have done? We have created our own functions. Now, you may call this what? Library functions that may be used by someone else or in your other programs. Okay, so whenever you are learning a new programming language, try to understand how to create the function, how to utilize those functions in a different parts. Now, list of the function or procedural oriented languages are what? Fortran, Algol, COBOL, PL1, Basic, Pascal and C. In fact, there are more than thousands of languages are there. So most of the antivirus programs were written using a function-oriented approach, like using a C language. Okay, so many of the antivirus software, your compilers, your operating system has been written in a C language itself. So it means that much of powerful these function-oriented programming languages are. Now let us try to understand some of the drawbacks of this particular function-oriented programming languages. Procedural code is difficult to relate with what? Real-world object. This makes it difficult to design. Solving the real world problem in the form of object is very difficult using the function oriented programming, or in fact it is not possible. all the data is exposed to the whole program. There is no security for your data. Now when we are talking about the C programming, we have what a concept called global data and local data. Now this global data can be accessed by other programs too. So there is a chances of that it may get misused. Okay, and that's why it means we can say that there is a little bit security when we are talking about what function oriented programming, especially in this particular concept. Okay, so solution for this is what? The object oriented languages. Now in order to understand the object oriented language, we will take a very simple example. Now basically these are the what? These are the shapes. So it means we may call it what? Shape is one of the class. Okay, under that class we may have what? A subclass, like what? A circle class, rectangular class, and so on. Okay, it means we are inheriting a shape class into a different subclass. Now here observe that each class may have what? Their own variables. Now we are calling them as what? A member. Rather than calling them as a variable, we are calling them as a member of that particular class. And each member or each class may have their own function. Now we are calling them as what? A member function. Now observe that. If you want to identify the members of this what object, what you need to do, simply select right click. This is what your PowerPoint. So after selecting the object, simply right click, simply select the size and position option. Okay, so you will get what? A list of attributes. It means we may call it the properties. So these are what? A list of attributes associated with this particular class. Then observe that we don't have here what? Color attribute. It means this color attribute might be possible that it has been written under a class called as shape. We are going to perform the same kind of operations on all these objects irrespective of their what? The various attributes. It means you may perform the various operations like what? Solid fill, then gradient fill. You may put a picture inside this. These are what? These are the operations. So this is nothing but what? It is going to be carried out this task by means of what? A certain function. So it means we can say that now this members has been put under these functions. Unlike in C, where your variables may be written somewhere else and function may have accessed those variables. But in object-oriented programming language, what we are doing? We are clubbing the data members and their function members together. So these are what? Data members and these are what? Function members. So the main aim of object-oriented programming is to bind together the data and the function that operate on them. It means all these members can be accessed only by this member function and not by other member function, depending upon the kind of access specifier that you have specified. Okay. So the main aim of object-oriented programming is to bind together the data and the function that operate on them. By doing this, no other part of the code can access the data except that function. Except this function, no other member function is able to access this data. Thus, in object-oriented programming, objects are combined with the necessary code for completing a given task. An object is predefined set of program code that once written, tested, will always behave in the same way. Okay, see what we have done. We have created one rectangular class. Okay, and we can create the n number of objects of that. See what we have done. We have one rectangular class and of that we have created 3 objects. Okay, so once you have created that class, you are able to create the n number of objects of that particular class. So that is the basic advantage. It can be used in other applications instead of rewriting the coding again. That is, an object is written for a certain specific task and saved in a library so that anyone can use it. It means that you are able to create what? You are able to reuse this particular code in another program also. Object-oriented programming aims to implement the real-world entities like what? Inheritance. Just we have seen, shape is what? Shape is a base class. Then you may create what? A subclass like circle, rectangle, okay, parallelogram. So this, it means you are able to inherit them. You may able to hide a certain data members. Then you are able to perform a polymorphism, means performing many actions by means of what? A concept like function overloading. Then object can be modified, reused, copied and created. You can create the n number of objects, no doubt. You are also able to modify them. Now, some of the object-oriented programming languages include C++, VC++, Java, C#, Python, R, PHP. There are so many object-oriented programming languages. Now, please remember, when you are talking about object-oriented programming language, it doesn't mean that it is not going to support the concept of function-oriented. It supports the function-oriented concept too. Okay. Now, what are the difference between the function-oriented and your object-oriented programming? So, approach. The kind of approach that has been followed by function-oriented programming is what? It's a top-down, while in object-oriented programming, it's a bottom-up. And the basic concept, the main focus is on how to get the work done. That is a procedure or structure of the program. Here in object-oriented programming, the main focus is on what? Data security. That is how we will be able to protect our data from outside world. Hence, only the objects are permitted to access what? The entities of the class. Now, when you are talking about your entities, it means it's a data member and member functions. Now, division. The large program is divided into a unit called as program. Here, the entire program is divided into the various objects. Executing entity accessing mode. No access specifier is observed. Access specifiers are what? Public, private, and protect. It means how you are able to access the data member and the member function is based on what? The access specifier that you have written. If it is public, it means all entire program is able to access that particular class. But by default, it's a private only. Then data security, it's a very less in function-oriented programming, but data is well protected within what? A functions. Data sharing. Global data is shared among the functions in the program. Okay, while here the data is shared among the objects through member functions. Now examples are what? C, VB, Fortran, Pascal are some of the function-oriented programming languages, while C++, Java, VB.NET, C#.NET are some of the examples of what? The object-oriented programming concept. So I hope that you understood all the points that we have discussed in the today's session. Now we will see some of the practical part. So we'll see how to use the functions. So I'm writing one small function, say display, which is simply displaying a message, say hello, printf hello. Okay, now save this program. Suppose the name of the program is say bsc.h. Okay, now write a new program. Include stdio, static standard input output header files, then conio.h console input output header files. Okay, and now try to write a main function. Under that, I am calling a function say display. Okay, before that, clear the screen. And here, it's here, so that we will be able to see the result properly. Now save this program again. Assume the name of this program is my.cpp. Okay, now I am compiling this program. It is showing what? The error. Display should have a prototype. Now remember, we have written a display function under the header file called as bsc.h, but we have not included that one. Now how to include it? It's a very simple hash include okay, and now compile it. So now there is no error. Okay, now you can execute this program. So it is going to print a hello message only once because we have called that function only once. Now you may call it n number of times, no issue. So we have written a function only once, but now you can use that function as many as time you want. Okay, again it is not necessary that you can have only one function in this. You may write another function. It means you can create a collections of your functions. Suppose it's a show and we have written a message world. Now please remember, it is not necessary that your function is going to contain only one line. It may contain thousands of line coding, no issue. Okay, save it. Now see what I am doing. I am also calling a function show, but only once. Okay. Now you may call it 5 times, no issue. So for that purpose, what we will do, we will use a looping statement for I equal to 1, I less than equal to 5, I equal to I plus 1. That is increment the value each time by 1. And now remove this line. Now observe that this display function is going to be called 5 times, while the show function will be called only once. And now execute. So that is the basic advantage of what function. Write once and use it. So what we have done, we have created our own header file, and there we have written what? A function. So you may have a n number of functions over there. Okay, and you may call in any order. It is not necessary that I need to call only display function first. I may use first of all a show function. Okay, now see what is going to happen. Okay, the first one is what? Word followed by hello 5 times, and again word. Okay, so that is the basic advantage of what? Creating the function. Write once and use it. Now we will see about object-oriented programming concept. So for that purpose, we will use a PowerPoint only in order to understand this concept. I am deleting it. Now insert. Under the insert tab, we have what? A shapes. So for example, it's a rectangle shape, so I am selecting it. I can create the n number of objects of that particular class. That is what? Rectangular class. So basically, shape is what? Let's understand. Shape is main class. Under that, we have what? A subclasses. Okay. Now take one more. Create one more object. Then again, you may have another object of different shapes. Now right click it and select size and position, and observe the various attributes that are associated. It is what? Height, width, rotation, scale height, scale width. Now for example, if you are going to change the say width, see what is going to happen. It is automatically changing. So it means we can say that these are what? These are the some of the attributes that are associated with this. Now observe, we don't have any color over here. It means that the color attribute has been specified in a shape class. So what we can do, we are able to change the colors. Now what are the operations that we are able to do? It means we are able to fill with a different color. So what are the various options that we have? We have what? These many operations you are able to perform on this particular objects. Okay, so that is the concept. Now again, it's what? Observe, the functions are what? Same, but their attributes might be different. Okay, so basic class is what? Shape, and within that shape class we may have again n number of other classes. Like, it means it gives the concept of what? Inheritance. The operations are what? They are almost same, but their data members may differ. So that is the basic concept of what? Object-oriented programming languages, where the members are put inside a operation that you are going to perform. And this operation is what? They are nothing but the functions in order to carry out that particular operation. So with that, I hope you understood now both the concept of function-oriented programming and object-oriented programming very well. So in the next session, we will discuss about the event-based and scripting language. With that, thank you very much. Have a nice day.